Welcome to class number 3 of our Beginner's Chiller course. In this third class, we will not discuss from scratch the chiller that operates with a piston compressor, since in classes 1 and 2, we already explained the basic operation of chillers and the types of water chillers according to condenser cooling. At that time, we explained that we could make an initial division of chillers based on the type of condenser cooling: air-cooled condensers and water-cooled condensers. In the first class, we discussed the air-cooled condenser, and in the second class, we began discussing the water-cooled condenser applied to chillers, even mentioning the additional circuits present in this type of equipment. In this class, to begin expanding the divisions of the equipment and broaden the classifications, we will talk about the piston compressor chiller. In later classes, we will discuss scroll compressor chillers, screw compressor chillers, and centrifugal compressor chillers, progressively increasing the classifications as we advance through this beginner's chiller course. First of all, we must mention that like any conventionally operating chiller, we will have a traditional refrigeration circuit. Likewise, this piston compressor chiller is equipment that, as the years have passed, has lost significant influence due to the emergence of new technologies and improvements in compressors with different operating principles that have gradually replaced piston compressors in some applications. Let us remember that a chiller operates with relatively high evaporator pressure, almost similar to the pressures of an air conditioning system. This means we're dealing with high-temperature evaporator equipment in most cases, although, as we will see in later classes of this basic chiller course, there are systems designed to generate low temperatures. However, a conventional chiller generally operates with evaporator temperatures close to 7 degrees Celsius, equivalent to 44 degrees Fahrenheit. For this reason, the piston compressor has lost considerable influence in this sector and has been mainly assigned to higher compression ratios, that is, to lower evaporator temperatures, such as in cold room applications and industrial refrigeration plants. Therefore, we can summarize that the piston compressor has lost influence in water chilling machines. However, we can still find new machines that incorporate piston compressors, especially in low or medium capacity equipment. Likewise, older chillers frequently use this type of compressor. If you wish to acquire more advanced knowledge about chillers and industrial refrigeration plants, you can visit mundochiller.com and take our private training programs for professional development in the sector. Every month we open courses with new groups in online mode. The main advantage of the piston compressor is that corrective maintenance can be applied relatively more easily than with other types of compressors. That is why the piston compressor still has applicability in the refrigeration sector, especially in high-temperature refrigeration. The problem with the piston compressor lies in efficiency and capacity regulation. In these aspects, we find the main difficulties presented by this type of compressor. Let us begin by discussing capacity regulation. When designing a chilled water plant and selecting a chiller, we must take into account that the unit will operate at 100% of its maximum capacity for a shorter time than it will operate at partial loads. If we consider that the compressor is the fundamental component that drives refrigerant flow through the circuit, we can conclude that if we do not need the chiller's maximum capacity, then we will need the compressor to operate at lower capacity in order to achieve some energy savings. Let us look at the example of a chiller application in a shopping mall where air conditioning is required. At midday, with the number of people at its maximum, we will likely need 100% of the chiller's capacity. Suppose the piston compressor has 3 pistons. Method 1. Capacity regulation by disabling the operation of one piston. At the moment of maximum thermal load with a large number of people, we will need all 3 pistons to operate at 100% capacity to generate the amount of cooling required by the installation. However, that same chiller, when operating at times of day when less cooling is needed, will likely not require all 3 pistons to run, or the equipment to produce 100% of its capacity. Therefore, the piston compressor must be able to regulate its capacity. Method 2. capacity regulation of the piston compressor by simulating heat at the evaporator inlet without energy savings. This model is based on simulating thermal loads when there is not enough real heat in the evaporator. Imagine again the shopping mall at 9 a.m. on a Monday with few people present. At that moment, we do not need the full cooling capacity of the chiller. To simulate the thermal load, the system diverts a quantity of refrigerant from the compressor discharge and sends it to the evaporator, or in some cases to the suction line, mainly towards the evaporator, in order to simulate heat. As we know, refrigerant at the compressor discharge has high temperature due to the compression work, so sending it to the evaporator creates artificial heat that replaces the real heat coming from people or the environment. In this way, we ensure that the evaporator maintains a thermal load similar to what the unit would have when operating at 100% of its capacity, while also maintaining normal chiller pressures, for example around 60 to 65 psi with R22 refrigerant. This prevents pressure from dropping due to lack of thermal load. The problem is that there is no energy savings. Since the compressor continues operating with all three pistons, we are simply maintaining normal operating conditions. Method 3, capacity regulation using a variable frequency drive. Another method consists of using a frequency variation system on the motor, allowing the rotational speed to be modified. This requires compressors capable of operating at lower speeds. It is very important to consider that a lower than normal speed may affect lubrication, since in many compressor models, the lubrication system depends directly on the crankshaft revolutions. Therefore, when installing a variable frequency drive, the compressor lubrication must be carefully evaluated. The current trend indicates that we will see fewer and fewer piston compressor chillers in new equipment, with their presence mainly in medium or low capacity units. Likewise, older chillers frequently use this type of compressor. As a conclusion of this third class, we have covered the piston compressor chiller, both water-cooled and air-cooled, along with its main characteristics. See you in class number 4 of this beginner's chiller course.